Modulating cortisol can help with diabetes, prediabetes, can help you control abdominal belly fat, can help with sleep, with brain fog, and it potentially can preserve your muscle and bone mass. Beware of the doctor's tendency to overprescribe steroids. The first tool I'm going to offer to modulate cortisol is going to sound too simple. A tool that is completely free, painless, natural, with practically zero side effects.
Welcome to Body, Mind, and Spirit. I'm your host, Dr. Diely Pichardo Johansson, retired board-certified hematologist-oncologist and twice cancer survivor.
The second layer of the emergency response in our body when facing stress is cortisol. You may have heard of cortisol too. It's a hormone produced also in our adrenal glands, but not in the inside, in the cortex. These are corticosteroids. Don't confuse them with anabolic steroids, which are actually male hormones. This is not the hormone that's going to make you bulky and muscular. On the contrary. When we are facing an emergency situation, when our body senses stress, we release these bursts of cortisol in our bloodstream. It makes you ready to solve a quick problem. It transiently raises our blood sugar, briefly increases our attention and mental clarity, briefly. Starts a quick anti-inflammatory effect. If you were ever in a car accident, you have noticed that at first you don't feel pain when you're dealing with the insurance or the police officer, and then when you get home, you are hurting all over. Cortisol gave you the break of an acute anti-inflammation for your injuries until you were safe. The problem is that this is very short. Long-term can also influence your immune system. Cortisol also prepares us for famine times. That is even if you are overeating and needing to lose weight. Our ancestors, when they were under stress, that meant the famine time is coming. So it makes us deposit fat in our abdomen and our upper back. One of the reasons why cortisol is famous is because the influencers are talking all over about how stress gives you the stress belly and it's very hard to shed. It eventually starts toning down our muscle and our bones. Corticosteroids can cause osteoporosis to recycle those components into nutrients. The problem with cortisol is that it's only designed for an acute reaction. It's not designed to be turned on constantly. That temporary rise in blood sugar that it gives you to help you have energy and focus quickly, that also can contribute to diabetes and prediabetes. The fat deposits, especially the abdominal fat deposits, are terrible for metabolic disorder and for your health. Even more, that brief anti-inflammatory effect cortisol gives you is only temporary. It is well known that corticosteroids are immunosuppressants in the long term. And in fact, they are used by doctors to terminate allergic reactions, to arrest acute inflammatory processes, for example, brain swelling or a flare of rheumatoid arthritis. But eventually, if you were going to be on steroids for a long term, the same inflammation that is suppressing is blocking your ability to fight infections. And that thing about cortisol increasing your focus and making you more alert is actually part of your waking response in the morning. That is also very temporary. After a while or after certain doses, cortisol causes brain fog. And I experienced that during my chemotherapy. The steroids they were giving me a few days before the chemo were causing terrible brain fog. And not get me started in the chronic effects of potentially causing osteoporosis or muscle mass loss. Parentheses, these are the nerd and the hippie reuniting to give you a warning. Beware of the doctor's tendency to overprescribe steroids. Doctors love to prescribe prednisone, cortisone, hydrocortisone, solumedrol, medrol dose pack, because those medications give you a quick suppression in inflammation, but these are pharmacological doses. These are doses way beyond what our bodies are designed to manage. And for longer durations. The overprescribing steroids can potentially lead to dysregulating your blood sugar, making you gain weight, causing osteoporosis. I have a relative who the doctor was giving her 60 milligrams of prednisone every time she had an allergic reaction, and she ended up gaining a tremendous amount of weight. I have a loved one who was put on steroids for a questionable rheumatoid disorder and had a horrible amount of muscle mass loss. Beware of steroids. They are to be used judiciously. Modulating cortisol can help with diabetes, prediabetes, and metabolic syndrome, all the blood sugar disorders. Can help you control abdominal belly fat, can help with sleep, with brain fog, and it potentially can preserve your muscle and bone mass. Definitely a good deal. What can we do to modulate the effects of cortisol? Here I'm going to share a few tools. Then I'm going to give you the lazy man trick, a tool that is completely free, painless, natural, readily accessible, with practically zero side effects. Ready?
Please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. When you share this video, when you like it, when you comment, you are helping us change the conversation and shift the consensus reality in the world. Thank you. It means a lot to me. Now, back to the show.
What can we do to suppress our cortisol? Well, if you are tuned into the wellness influencers, you probably have heard of adaptogens, natural medications and herbs that are derived from plants that are resistant to stress and that can help us modulate our stress response. Greatest examples, ashwagandha and rhodiola. And by the way, I've taken ashwagandha and it's not a placebo. It does work. However, even those can be something to be careful with. Ashwagandha comes with a warning not to take it more than 2 to 3 weeks in a row. Take breaks in between because it can work too much and slow down your cortisol response when you need it. So, what are the other natural ways to soften your cortisol response? The first tool I'm going to offer is going to sound too simple. But again, simple doesn't mean it's easy. And again, it's free, readily available. You don't have to pay to anybody, and you can start doing it right now. Are you ready? That tool is treat yourself kindly. If you are listening to this program, you are like me. You are someone who is more self aware than average, conscious, who is interested in your health, and you are probably going above and beyond the average person already in at least educating yourself. That means you are a baby overachiever like me. Chances are that when you take a health initiative, when you take a step into your wellness, you are going to take it seriously. Beware of the tendency to overdo it. Make sure that you are resting, that you are allowing yourself recovery between exercise. Make sure you're not pushing yourself too hard. Even in the dietary restrictions, I once put myself in a low sugar diet that was apparently messing my cortisol. I was overdoing it. And what happens when cortisol gets up, then your blood sugar is high again. Make sure to remember to hydrate yourself. Doctors are terrible at that. Doctors and busy people are terrible at that. We don't drink water to avoid having to take bathroom breaks. But be kind to yourself, hydrate yourself. Even if aldosterone, the hydration related hormone, is separate from cortisol, cortisol also goes up when you are dehydrated. And the second tool is again very simple, but not necessarily easy, is stress reduction, which my translation of that is joy, whatever that means to you. To me, joy is watching a sunset, is creativity, is writing, is playing the guitar, playing the piano, listening to music, is nature, walking on the beach. And we're going to talk a lot more about that in following episodes. Okay, so we have already covered adrenaline and cortisol, the oldest well-known part of the stress response. And now we're going to focus on the fancier side of stress, immunity and inflammation. And I said, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. We cannot have it both ways. Either stress makes your immune system suppress and explains why my cancer patients get out of control, or it makes your immune system overactive and explains why my rheumatologic disease and autoimmune disease patients get out of control. This doesn't make sense, but it does. I'm going to summarize it for you today in simple language.